Hi, everybody. Welcome to Team Referral Network's monthly webinar series, our Brown Bag Lunch and Learns. I'm Callie Holmes, CEO and founder of Team Referral Network, and I will be your host for today's featured event. The Brown Bag Lunch and Learn webinar series is designed for busy entrepreneurs and business owners who want to invest in knowledge that can help them succeed. Today's topic is radical relevance, and our expert is Bill Cates. It is my honor to introduce him to you right now. In a world of marketing message overload and so many barriers to reaching new prospects, we need to find the right strategies and methods to cut through all that noise and attract more ideal clients or customers. As a successful entrepreneur, Bill Cates started, built, and sold 2 successful book publishing companies. After selling his second company, Bill turned his attention to helping businesses speed up their growth through 2 critical strategies. Number 1, multiplying their best clients or customers through referrals and introductions from advocates. And number 2, communicating more relevant and compelling value. Bill is the author of 4 best-selling books: Get More Referrals Now, Don't Keep Me a Secret, Beyond Referrals, and his newest, Radical Relevance. Bill is also somewhat of an adventurer. He has trekked through the Himalayas of Nepal and the Andes of Peru. He has lived on a houseboat in Kashmir, India, climbed Machu Picchu, reached the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro, and camped in the Arctic Circle. And Bill has toured the country as the drummer in a rock and roll band. How cool is that, okay? The most important thing for you to know is that thousands of businesses and professionals are using Bill's system to attract a steady flow of high-quality clients through referrals. Help me welcome referral coach, Bill Cates. Hi, Bill.
Hey, welcome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So good to have you here with us today. You know, it's an incredibly important topic that you're presenting to us, radical relevance. And I know your area of expertise has been around referrals and ideal clients. And that really fits into what we do at Team Referral Network. So I'm just particularly excited today to have you on with us. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
So let's talk a little bit about radical relevance. What is radical relevance?
Well, radical relevance is, and it's actually the subtitle of my book kind of says it all. So let me just hit that. It's sharpen your marketing message, cut through the noise, win more ideal clients. So it's about cutting through all the clutter. There's just so much noise in the marketplace, and it's hard for us to differentiate ourselves and really to get in front of people, right? People don't pick up their phone anymore. We try as much social media as we can to get through to people. Doesn't always work. And so what we know is the way to become, or the fastest way to become relevant in someone else's world, a stranger, someone who doesn't know us, we don't know them, is to get introduced from someone they trust. So there's a lot to radical relevance, but what we're going to focus on here today is the fastest way to become relevant to someone, and that's getting introduced. And so we're going to talk about referrals, we're going to talk about introductions, how to be more referable, how to get introduced, all the important nitty-gritty of meeting more people, and not just anyone, right? We talk about right fit clients, ideal clients. The neat thing about referrals and introductions is you can certainly direct where you want to move your business and the type of people you want to work with. So there's no reason to settle for people that don't fit your business properly, and bring more joy into your life with the right people.
Oh, I really like that. I like that. You're speaking my language here, so I'm very excited about that. So let's dive into our first screenshot here of culture. It's about creating culture. You know, I think a lot of our listeners might think in terms of culture being a big company's thing, you know, that I'm a small company. Do I need to cultivate a culture? So why don't you talk a little bit about, one, can small companies create a culture like big companies do?
Well, of course. I mean, the culture is always there. You know, it's not a matter of creating the culture, it's creating the culture that you want. Just like your brand, right? You always have a brand, whether you realize it or not. It's a question of how you want to exercise some control or influence over that. So And what I mean related to this is that to get more referrals and introductions, and we'll make a distinction between those two words in a minute, it's not just about asking. We're going to talk about asking, and asking is important, and we need to know how to ask in a way that's going to be productive and not hurt a relationship, not make us feel needy or pushy. But it's not just that. It's about being more referable. It's about promoting introductions. And as we go through, you'll see how this really is it's a way of doing business, is the culture as well, is making a decision to meet people the way they want to meet you. If you stop and think about just about every business out there, how would someone prefer to meet you? Well, it's an introduction from someone else they already trust. Mm-hmm. So it's building a culture of meeting your ideal clients through other people. Sometimes I say the way of the world is meeting people through other people, and the referral, the introduction, is the warm way we get into their lives.
I really like that. It's interesting, inside the Team Referral Network membership website, okay, we have two very important buttons that are accessible for our members to utilize. And one is called the referral button, and the other is called the introduction button. So I love this. This is great. It fits right into what we do at Team Referral Network very well. Right. So can we dive into a little bit of strategy here and talk a little bit about what the referral mindset is?
Yeah. So the referral mindset really has to do with your mistaken thinking, your limiting beliefs. So we all have, right? We all have mistaken thinking, limiting beliefs. And when it comes to the referral process, there's a few. So for instance, thinking in terms of the lifetime value of a customer or a client. What is the lifetime value? Well, it's not just the business you can do with them over that lifetime. It's also who they can introduce you to over that lifetime. But if we're not thinking in terms of that, if we're not thinking in terms of lifetime value, then we're going to miss opportunity. And understanding that principle of lifetime value means when we meet people for the very first time and we get to know them a little bit, we're going to be curious, and we're going to get to know other people that they know, how long they've been in the area, or how long they've been in the business, or are they in the industry association, and all the various things that apply to your business. Curiosity will help you very well with this whole thing with referrals. And so what happens is then you start to build a little bit of an inventory of people that they might introduce you to down the road. So that's part of the mindset. Giving referrals. Well, you guys got that one, right? You know the importance of giver's gain, and as you give, you receive. And a lot of people out in this world are reluctant to give for two reasons. Sometimes they're reluctant to give because the person they want to give referrals to or they want to help isn't necessarily referable in their eyes yet. So we'll talk about that. If you want people in this network to give you referrals, you better become referable in their eyes. But the other thing is that we know that making connections is a little risky. You never know exactly what's going to happen when you make those connections. And so if you're reluctant to give and provide referrals, then that's a disconnect. How are you going to create a culture of your clients or customers doing that for you and others doing it for you? So, do you see yourself as a connector? Do you see yourself as someone who helps other people by making connections? And you indeed get helped by people connecting you as well. Do you believe in asking? Do you believe asking is risky or safe? And if you believe that asking for referrals or introductions is risky, then you probably won't do it. But that's a limiting belief because it doesn't have to be risky, and we'll demonstrate that as we go here today. Let me use this as an opportunity to make that distinction, at least in my mind, and you can tell me what your two buttons mean. It may be the same thing. But to me, as a referral, it's kind of like a referred lead. It's like, call George, use my name. Right? Well, the problem with that is George doesn't answer his phone anymore. George is wondering why their friend gave their name out to you, right? And it just doesn't work so well anymore. So these days we need to think in terms of introductions. So when you're talking to clients, when you're talking to members of your network, when you're talking to centers of influence, prospects, I don't care, whoever you're talking to, make sure you use the word introductions. How would you like to introduce me to her? My guess is he'd like to hear from you before he hears from me. Let's talk about what that introduction looks like. And we'll get into detail around that later, but that's so important. And so this is kind of what I mean by the mindset. The last item in mindset for me is an attitude of expectation. Expecting, right? Expecting people to introduce you to others. I don't recommend you tell people, I expect you to introduce me, but it's an attitude of confident awareness. You're confident in the value that you provide. You know you bring good work to your clients or customers. All right, so that's the confidence part. And then the awareness is you are just naturally curious. You know the lifetime value of your client. So you become aware of people they know and who they might introduce you to. And when we get into the asking, you'll see how that can make a huge difference.
Great. I love that. And really, it's true about the quality of referrals. There's really kind of leads and referrals. At Team Referral Network, we focus on referrals, and that is definitely where the opportunity to do business with somebody who you're referring them to is set up well. And certainly that can involve a great introduction, and whether that's through the introduction button in Team Referral Network or not. And I know we're going to dive deeper into how to do a great introduction here in just a little bit. But we definitely want people to become super referable. We focus on that through knowledge and the opportunity to have expectation about the referrals that are being sent to you, and of course the quality of the referrals that you're giving as well. So great stuff here. I'm going to move on to the next screen here and talk about strategy number 2. Get referrals without asking. Now, I can tell that a lot of people in our audience right now are going, yes, that's what I want. I want to get referrals without asking. I have a feeling it's not going to be that easy. So share with us what you mean by getting referrals without asking.
Well, it's simple, but maybe not easy. You have to do the work. So it's two things. It's about becoming very referable, and we'll cover that. And then it's also about promoting introductions. So there's things you can say and do that will promote this and help you make this happen, again, without the actual ask. And so what does it take to become referable? Well, there was a study done by a gal in Canada, Julie Littlechild, and she discovered there's actually a low correlation between client or customer satisfaction and the giving of referrals or making introductions. Only 20% of satisfied clients did that. So what we need to create is engaged clients or engaged customers. And someone who is an engaged client or customer is, number one, engaged with your value. They understand your value, and they appreciate it. And they're also engaged with you, and they appreciate you. We know that there's that likability factor, if you will, and there are things you can do throughout the relationship. Let me give you one thing to create this feeling of engagement quickly in a new relationship. It's to talk about your client-focused why. Now, there's a lot of talk about the why, and Simon Sinek made it pretty famous, but there's different ways to look at this. For me, in this context, it's why you believe in the value that you bring. And usually there's a story there. Usually it's something that happened to you and why you got in business. Maybe it's why you're with the company that you're with. Maybe it's why you've been in this business for a long time and still believe in it. There's usually some sort of a story for you or a client or whatever. And what you want to do early on in a brand new relationship is, it'll sound something like this. Kelly, that's a little bit about what we do and how we do it. I want to shift gears for a second and tell you a little bit about why I do this, what drives me every day in this business. And then you tell a little bit of that why. And you create that personal connection. And this will help you win the business. It will also help you create that engagement so that you're becoming more referable more quickly.
As we're talking about this client engagement here, I'm going to switch screens here because I have a feeling this is really some good stuff right here.
Yeah. So I think you can hit a couple things, and the slide will fill out a little bit to the engagement with the value. There we go. And then the personal connection. And so, there you go. And so, so you've got to create that. And then what happens is when you get the attitude of leverage, which is about promoting and asking, then you can start to get introduced to people and get connected. So these 3 words here, engagement, leverage, connection, this is what will create this continual flow for you. You create engagement with your current clients or customers, whatever word you use. Then you leverage that by being appropriately proactive. And then you get introduced, you get connected with this new prospect of yours. You start to build the engagement with them. And if you hit the enter one more time, this thing should move. Let's see if it does. No, it didn't. That's right. So the build wasn't there. No problem.
That might be operator error here.
Well, that's right. Sometimes the wheel starts to spin,
Okay.
but it creates a continual flow. So one aspect of leverage before we get into actual asking real quick is the promoting. So there's a difference between promoting and asking, and a lot of people confuse the two. Promoting is you're not really asking for referrals or introductions. You're promoting it. So things like, I've been teaching this for years, don't keep me a secret. Don't keep us a secret. Don't keep the work we do a secret. Somebody says, hey, this is great. Great. Please don't keep us a secret. In fact, one of my books is titled, Don't Keep Me a Secret.
Right.
And right, goes into their unconscious. And then later they're talking to a friend, a colleague, somebody, and guess what? They don't keep you a secret. I've seen that turn into referrals right on the spot. Another one, this is promoting, never too busy to see if I can be a resource for other people you care about, or any variation of that verbiage. And notice I said never too busy to see if I can be a resource. So if you're first getting started in business and you're hungry, you can say never too busy to be a resource. But most people are usually a little selective about who they want to bring in. They want to bring in the right folks, have a good match. So never too busy to see if I can be a resource. And that allows you to start that qualification process quickly and make sure you get referred to the right people. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it, but those are two of the easiest ones. One other kind of fun, neat thing you can do, and this goes into that culture idea, is on your outgoing voice message, when you're on a call like this and you can't answer your phone, your outgoing message says, please leave a message at the tone. And if you were recommended to us, please let us know who we need to thank.
Nice.
Right. So now everyone who gets your outgoing voice message knows that people recommend you, people refer you, you say thank you. In fact, you get so many of them, you get it on your outgoing voice message. Right. Yeah. So these are the different ways to leverage without asking, to promote.
I really like that. That sounds great. Good tip. I hope people are writing this down. That could be an aha moment right there.
Good.
So let's move into your strategy number 3, when you request referrals without begging. And I'm hearing the whole audience cheering to this as well. Literally, who wants to beg for a referral? That is not a fun way of doing business. And quite honestly, I believe one of the reasons why our audience focuses on building their business through referrals is because it's just a much more rewarding way of doing business. So begging or pushing does not sound fun for us, right?
Right, and that's what stops people from doing it, right? The joke I like to make is, you don't want to look like an over-aggressive life insurance agent. Now, I work with life insurance. I believe in life insurance. I think it's one of the cornerstones of proper financial planning. And what I mean by that is a lot of the old methodologies that they've been taught, and some people are still using, unfortunately, have kind of polluted the waters for the rest of us, right? Everyone's probably had a bad experience somewhere along the line with being asked for referrals or giving referrals and they didn't get handled well. And so what we want to do is we want to do this in a way that's a little more dignified, a little more appropriate for the relationships that we build.
Great. It's interesting too, you talk about people being reluctant to refer. It's really something that I speak about a lot when I'm talking with our people as well, is the fact that when you put your neck out on the line there, and you actually go to the point of referring somebody and say, I recommend this person and I think you should do business with them, and they make the connection, they get with that person. When that person does a great job, who looks like a rock star? The referrer, right? The person who referred that person.
Exactly.
Conversely, if you've referred them to somebody and somehow it gets screwed up and they've done a terrible job, who looks like the goat? Looks like they have really screwed up referring this person here. So it's very important that we learn that appropriate type of strategy and that we can trust our referral partners.
Well, yeah, that's why you got to be referable. And that's why you have to, if you do get referred, that you have to really step up that level of connection and service and integrity and all of that, because it's not just you on the line, it's the referral source on the line, and you could be burning that bridge to more opportunity down the road. So, why do people not ask? Well, and you have there the smart people turn into a bowl of quivering jello. It's true. I see it. People who are very smart, very confident, generally speaking, in life, all of a sudden it just flies out the window. Well, why? All right. So
Why?
sometimes, again, people don't want to look needy or unsuccessful. So the key is having the right approach, which we're about to get to. People don't want to look pushy. Again, we'll get to that. People don't want to put others on the spot. So that's where promoting referrals, by the way, is a great thing to use too, because if you promote once or twice early in a relationship, then when you ask, it's, you know, it's not coming out of the blue. It's just part of the conversation. Some people are afraid of rejection. Now, if you're afraid of rejection, you probably shouldn't be in business, but we know that fear of rejection comes in different places for different people. And so, you know, we may talk to anybody, any stranger on the street, but once we have a relationship with them and then we get into this referral conversation, then all of a sudden we make it mean too much. We take it personally. And so, you know, we don't want to go there. So there's all kinds of mistaken beliefs, limiting beliefs that keep people from asking. But if you have the right process, then it should help dissolve those fears.
Sure. Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about the right process, because you have coined the right process here. I like it. So tell us about this.
Yeah, sure. I call it the VIPS method, and think of the referrals you get as the VIPs of your business, right? Now, remember the VIPs. And so go to the next slide. I think is the best thing to go through this. So the V is the value discussion. This is, of all the things I've been teaching for 25 years, this is the most important. And so please pay attention to this. This is a check-in that we do. You know, you've heard the expression working on your business versus working in your business. Most of the time you're working in it, and every now and then you take a time out like now and you work on it. Well, the same is true for our relationships with our clients and customers. Most of the time we're working in the relationship, but every now and then we want to take a time out and work on it. And so that's to review and to check. How are we doing? You know, if it's early in the relationship, you could say, you know, we've covered a lot of things here today. What stands out as the most important thing we've talked about? Or if it's a delivery of a product or service, it could be, you know, we've been through a bit of a process to get to this point, have we not? Yeah, tell me the value you feel you've gotten from the process. So it could be about that. But, you know, with just about every relationship, you want to stay in touch in certain ways. And every now and then you take a time out and you say, you know, let's talk about some things we can control, which is, you know, our communication, our overall working relationship, and anything not working I should know about, and then what is working, right? And so we're not afraid to get into that conversation and making sure that there isn't any lingering problem that maybe they didn't communicate with us. But I have seen people do this value discussion, this just checking in on a regular basis, and create so many referrals / introductions without even asking. Just this because this creates the engagement, and it's engagement, and it's the referrals.
You know, in this value discussion too, Bill, I'm just going to jump in here. I see this happening between referral partners as well. So not only you and your client, but what a great way to have a value discussion, you know, with your referral partners and your referral sources. Hey, we've been in this relationship for a while. Hey, we've done this together, and we've come down this road together and done that. And you know, how's it working for you, and that kind of thing. I just think that's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So
yeah, it's always value in taking a time out in a relationship and just saying, how are we doing, right?
Right. Might want to do that in our marriages. Yes.
Well, absolutely. So the I, treated with importance. Two reasons for that. Number one, this request has to come from a place of believing in our value, right? We know the work we do is important in its own right. For some of you, it could be life and death. For others, it's not life and death, but it's still important. And so we got to come from that place. And the other is that we know how we put things out into the world will determine how they come back to us. And so if we use a wishy-washy apologetic methodology, then that's not going to come back very well. So we just want to treat it with importance. And I'm glad you see the value in the work we're doing. And with that in mind, I have an important question to ask you, where I'm glad you see the value in the work we're doing. And you know I'm on kind of a mission to bring this good work to other people, right? So it's just coming from that place of believing in your work. And yeah, we're asking for help, but we're asking for help to help others. So it's coming from that place. And then the P, permission to explore. What we know about referrals and introductions is not everyone feels comfortable with this. And so we can't just plow ahead and be assumptive. We want to check in. We want to make sure they're okay with this conversation. Glad to see the value with that in mind. Important question. I was hoping we could brainstorm for a minute, or I was hoping we could explore for a minute, or I was hoping we could think about for a minute, or I was hoping we could put our heads together for a minute, any version of that, to see if we can identify a few folks that you think should at least be aware of the work I do. So that's the permission to explore. And then the last step, and I'll give you the whole thing all at once in a second, is to suggest names and categories. This is also a very important step, because what we found is that just throwing the whole universe open to someone, say, who else can we help? Or who do you know should know about what we do? It doesn't usually work. It doesn't usually produce a result. I mean, occasionally it does, but most of the time you've opened it up to the whole universe. And what we're really trying to do here is to narrow their focus, to help them visualize someone in their mind's eye. And every business is going to be different, but if you've been curious earlier on when you heard me talking about that, right? And you've identified a few folks they know. If it's B2C, it could be their sister and brother-in-law, it could be their parents. If it's B2B, it could be, colleagues in their industry. And so you're prepared with a few folks. The bullseye is asking for, an introduction to specific people they know. Just outside of the bullseye would be categories. And every business has categories or things that prospects are going through in their life, in their business, that make them a candidate for the work that you do, that makes the work you do even more relevant to them at this time. And so what are those categories that you might suggest to your referral source to help increase the brainstorming and the thinking about this, so you can identify, one or two or three or four people?
Great. We do something similar when we talk about communicating an effective message in team, and that's getting specific. People have a tendency to want to put information out there in broad, liberal strokes, in terms of, for fear that they might lose something in the process of narrowing it down. But I really believe in getting super specific with names and categories. I think that's great.
Yeah, and because it's going to help the person be more productive for you. So if you have several categories, right? So from a B2C standpoint, it could be those your family members or people that you play golf with, or you told me that you do this and that. We got to be careful not to throw out all the categories at once. It's one at a time. Because if you throw out all the categories at once, their brain's going to be bouncing around and not going to land on any.
Exactly. So, yes.
Just to model it real quick, so we can move on to the introduction, is, I'm glad to see the value in what we're doing. I'm glad I got a happy client, and I'm on a mission to bring this good work to other folks. And I was hoping we could brainstorm for a minute or explore and see if we can identify a couple folks you at least think should be aware of what I do. And I do have a couple ideas I'd like to run by a couple of folks you mentioned last time we got together, and actually a couple categories of people that we serve well. Can I run it by you? Well, okay. Who did I mention? What do you. And so you're going to create curiosity by coming prepared and letting them know. And then you're off and running into a conversation. And if you come from that perspective of brainstorming or exploring, if they say, no, I don't want to introduce you to them. They don't listen to anything I say anyway. I wouldn't feel comfortable. That's fine. We're just brainstorming. I do have a couple other ideas to run by you. Right. So you coming prepared can make all the difference in the world as to whether you're going to get, I can't think of anybody, or give me some cards. You come prepared, you'll be fine.
Great. Love it. All right. Let's talk about the graceful exit here, okay?
So a colleague of mine, Barry Alberstein, calls it the graceful exit. I call it the emergency exit because I'm a guy, right? But this is what it is. If someone doesn't want to do this, someone doesn't want to go, you're not going to hit them over the head and make them do this. You could talk to them about why they might be reluctant. You can say, tell me more about that. Have you had a bad experience? And you learn. But ultimately, you're probably going to back out, but you want to back out with confidence. You don't want to walk away with your tail between your legs, right? So you say, that's fine. Look, next time you recognize someone you think should know about the work I do, please don't keep me a secret. Makes sense? Oh, yeah, okay. Or, Kelly, I just want you to know that I'm never too busy to see if I can help others, be a resource for folks you care about. Fair enough? Yep, fair enough. and then you're done, and you've not hurt a
Right.
relationship, right? No harm, no foul, not a big
Don't
deal.
seem pushy. That sounds good. That sounds
Exactly.
really good.
Exactly.
All right, let's jump into strategy 4 here, securing solid introductions, get connected. Now, again, talking my language, this is, what I was born to do, was to connect people. And I know a lot of our audience are, they consider themselves that invaluable resource, that connector. So let's talk a little bit about this strategy.
Yeah, so, we're hearing a lot about the Food and Drug Administration right now with this COVID pandemic thing going on. And so when the Food and Drug Administration is evaluating a drug for the market, it wants to know, is that drug safe and effective? Well, guess what? That's what we want for the referral or / introductory process, right? We want it to feel safe for the people making the introduction, for the people to receiving the introduction, and we want it to be effective. We want to at least pique their interest. And so when we, there's a lot of things you can do to make an effective introduction, but first of all, you want to learn as much as you can about this new prospect. Why did you think of her if it wasn't obvious? Why'd you think of him? What's your relationship to them? If it wasn't obvious. A great question to ask, if it's B2C, what's going on in their life, their world that's important to them right now? If it's B2B, what's going on in their business that's really important to them right now? Learning some things about them so that you can then help craft the introduction so it's a little more relevant, a little more compelling for someone to do that. The best type of introduction is an in-person introduction if you can make it happen. Right now, we're not doing that for the most part, but also the challenge with an in-person introduction is logistics, right? So if these people play golf a lot and you can take them for a round of golf, great. If they break bread, they have lunch, breakfast, dinner, whatever from time to time. If it's something in their flow of what they do, great. Probably not going to be a problem. But if it's outside the flow of what they normally do, then it could just bog down in logistics. And so that's where the email introduction becomes really helpful. And that's what most people are doing these days is, creating the email introduction, and lo and behold, you have a way to do that. Right.
Right.
This is within the group, of course, right? This is how you introduce each other.
Yeah, this is actually being able to introduce to a team member or a non-team member.
Oh, okay.
So it can be go both ways.
Beautiful.
But this works with our program and what we do. But just for everybody's opportunity here, this just is any old email either. You can really just use your own email services as well. But we threw a picture in there so you could see what our email introductions were.
No, that's great.
Tell us how to make great email introductions.
Yeah, so I'll tell you that my favorite is what I call an electronic handshake or an email handshake. And it's essentially Kelly meet George. George has done some great work for me in this area, blah, blah, blah. George meet Kelly. Kelly and I have known each other for a long time. George, please take her call. It'll be worth your time, right? So it's a handshake inside of an email. And that's very effective because the new prospect sees the effort that their friend or colleague went to make that connection. Now, there's another way to do this that's, I kind of consider it a backup, but for some businesses, it could be the primary. And, in that case, the referral source sent the email, right? The client said, Kelly meet George, George meet Kelly. Now, this other one is where you send the email to the prospect and you say, Kelly recommended I give you a call, or Kelly, introduction from Kelly Holmes. And so that you put the referral source's name in the subject line so that prospect will at least open it because they don't know you, but they know Kelly.
Right.
And then you say, Kelly recommended I reach out to you. My name is Bill Cates. This is what I do. A little bit of value prop. And, based on Kelly's urging, I was hoping we could set up a quick call, 10, 15-minute phone call, just to get the conversation started, see if it makes sense to continue. And so I'm sending the email. So at least I have the control over that. But I've gotten an agreement from Kelly. I've gotten an agreement from the referral source when they see that email go through to add to the conversation. So now the referral source sees that you've reached out to their friend. They're going to send an email and further endorse you and further say nice things about you to encourage that. And if that person doesn't do it, if they drop the ball, you're still in touch with your prospect. So you're still a little bit in control of that. So that's kind of my backup plan. If you have someone who just can't get around to making this electronic handshake, or if someone just just doesn't want to do it, then you go ahead and introduce yourself, but try to
Right.
get agreement for them to add to the conversation.
Nice. I like that. I like that a lot. So before we go on to the next slide, which is going to be talking a little bit about what you do and how you do it, and I think you have something nice to offer our audience today,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go back and just kind of summarize some of my key points, my aha moments that I got throughout our webinar today. And
Please.
number one for me was create culture. I love the fact that, and right now, especially as we're evaluating how we're doing business, a lot of people had to change what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think creating a culture for your company, if you don't already have one, is a great idea. And if you have one, maybe it's time to revisit it and see if it's really in the right place at the right time for you and what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Having that referral mindset, very important. Becoming super referable. Make a value connection. No begging or being pushy. Learn to ask and to ask in the right way. Okay, love that. The VIPs method was superb. Having a graceful exit was a great tip. I found that very valuable. And then, of course, what we're ending with here is the key introductions and really making those valuable introductions. I think that enhances not only the way you're viewed as being a credible person who can refer excellent people, but it also makes people want to refer you more as well. So
Yeah, right. Good.
well, let's
Yeah,
talk a
so
little bit about what you got going on here.
yeah, and I think if you click it, the link comes up where they can go get this, if I'm not mistaken.
There we go. Yes.
Yeah, so this is complimentary for you guys in the group to get, and this is a guide that's a good kind of amalgamation or combining of some of the things we've just talked about around getting more introductions and my new work around becoming even more relevant, our messaging, our value, and it's I think you'll find it very helpful. And so if you go to exponentialgrowthguide.com, free for you guys. I'd love to hear from you. Tell me what you think, what questions you have around it. It'd be great.
That's great. I love that offer. We all love free things. And I think, again, right now, as we're looking forward to, I have found people really digging in and using some of the time that they have to really become more expert at whatever it is they need to know more about. So this is definitely along those lines. So thank you very much for that. And then tell us about your Radical Relevance Toolkit as well.
Yeah, so if you get the book, Radical Relevance, and you can get the paperback or the Kindle or the Audible on Amazon, you get more than a book. You get access to our Radical Relevance Toolkit. And so there was so much I wanted to provide, and I didn't want the book to be too big, because if it was too big, people wouldn't read it, and that doesn't do anyone any good. So I added the toolkit. So you'll see when like page 9 or 10 or something in the book, and in the Audible, I just speak it out. How to register the book at the Radical Relevance Toolkit. And then you get all kinds of extra value. How to make a radically relevant LinkedIn profile, how to talk about your value, how to build a website that's relevant, more relevant, fun with giving relevant gifts. And there's other things in there that this slide doesn't convey. So you get the book, but you also get a lot more. And you get into my world a little bit around this. And we're actually going to be doing some complimentary coaching and webinar calls like this, all based on the book and all based on people who get the book and get into the toolkit will have access to that. So it really is a lot of value, I believe, for folks.
Well, I think that is terrific. And I really love circling back to the Radical Relevance, win more ideal clients. I think today more than ever, making sure that we're spending our time focused on ideal clients, ideal customers, ideal patients, ideal members, ideal whatever you call your people, is extremely important. We are at a place and a position in life where we can't spend time just spinning our wheels. We really need to get much more intentional about what it is that we need to do to grow our business in the right way. And so I want to thank you, Bill, for being on with us today and sharing the information about radical relevance and your great strategies. Oh, hang on here, operator error again. Goodness gracious, I'm working with a new mouse, I think. So thank you, everybody who's still listening, and for those of you that will be receiving the recording, we appreciate you being a part of this. Bill, any parting thoughts that you want to share with us?
Yeah, this is not rocket science, guys and gals. This is just about confidence. And so it's a matter of engaging, doing it, feeling good about the value that you bring, asking for help, but you're asking for help to help others, right? Help me bring this good work to other people. I have one guy, he says to his clients, he says, I'm trying to reach more people with this important work, and I'm only one person. Perhaps you can help me reach others. And it's, it's asking for help, but to help others. And so just do it. You're not going to lose any clients. You're going to build your business and help more people.
Great. I love it. Well, we are, let's see, right at the end of the event. So thank you again. And for everybody who's listening to this or looking at this, if you want more information about events that are going on with Team Referral Network, we have many online events for this time period. Visit the teamreferralnetwork.com calendar. And if you're interested in visiting a chapter, please indicate that as well. You can email us at info@teamreferralnetwork.com. Bill, thanks again for being part of our Brown Bag Lunch and Learn webinar series.
Of course. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.